really, I'm not sure if I even need to introduce International Dark Sky Week to this group, but I will anyway. It's a global, organizing event of celebration of the dark sky. And what I love about it personally is really just this shared collective of everybody getting together, looking up, taking just that first initial step towards conservation. And it's really, a lot of people are excited about the eclipse, but there's so many other facets of light pollution or artificial light at night that relate to that. And it's a good way, I think, Tom, you mentioned it, or Mike, about how this relates and it's getting the city involved. And that's just so awesome. With the more proclamations and public awareness that we can reach is really great. So this actually was moved forward from last year to align with the eclipse. So that's a pretty exciting time. There's a lot of other events going around the country. So if you do have an event, again, please do feel free to share it with us on social media, post it in the Advocate Slack, or otherwise, we'd love to broaden that message for you. Yeah, so kind of covered this, but it's a worldwide celebration of the night, an opportunity to grow the movement through outreach and action. I'd say, actually, I don't want to take your focus, Drew, on the pledge. I think that was you.
Yeah, so on the International Dark Sky Week website, we really are promoting three primary actions. We thought about all the different actions that you can take to promote the protection of the night sky, and we decided that this year we really just wanted to focus on three key things. And the three key actions we're promoting this year is, first off, just simply getting outside at night. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. We'll be talking about the pledge. We have a pledge that we'd like people to sign, and that's to help build engagement and support in our membership here at Dark Sky International. And then Chris will be talking about, of course, getting proclamations signed. So I first wanted to talk about the pledge. So if you go to the IDSW website, there's going to be several links taking you to a pledge. Now, the idea is to invite new people into the dark sky community through a social media peer-to-peer campaign. And so what I mean by a peer-to-peer campaign is when you sign the pledge, you'll input information. And after you sign the pledge, it'll direct you to a thank you page. And on this thank you page, each person will actually be provided a unique link. Now you can take the link and you can copy and paste it onto any social media platform. You can even put it in a text message or an email, and you can send that out to family and friends. Now, when they click on that link, that'll direct them to sign the pledge. But when they sign the pledge, it's going to be linked directly to you. You can actually check a leaderboard on the International Dark Sky website, and it'll track all the people that you've recruited to take this pledge. Abby's worked on peer-to-peer campaigns before, and they often see a lot of success. This really is designed for people who are highly competitive. I am one of those people. And you can kind of track on the leaderboard how many people you are bringing into the Dark Sky movement, how many people you are bringing to the International Dark Sky Week website. And again, you can track that. Our plan is to have prizes available for the top 3 winners. We're still putting together the prize package, and there'll be more information about that to come. But we thought that this is kind of a fun and easy way to really get people involved. It'll get them signed up to be on the Dark Sky email list, which means that they can be put on a journey, hopefully, to become an advocate someday like you all.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And Drew, there are some great questions just from the chat quick before we go too far about actually adding a QR code for the pledge, maybe on the site, or we could distribute that around so people could more easily join. And then I know fantastic too, is there a way to find your link again? Maybe you've navigated away from that page.
Is there a way to find your link again? I believe so, because I've been kind of playing around with the system. And whenever I log back into the IDSW website, I had already signed the pledge weeks ago. and it doesn't let you sign the pledge again. So once you sign the pledge, it should have something saying you've already signed the pledge, and there should be a link then provided that'll get you back to the thank you page. But also your individual recruitment tag or URL, it's going to be sent to you in an email.
Oh, okay.
So that's probably even a more easy way to go back and grab that and share it.
Perfect. Perfect. Thanks, Drew. And folks, do feel free to keep posting questions in the chat. This something we'll download too and make sure if we don't get a response during the meeting, we can get it out afterwards as well.
One thing I really like about the pledge is that it's a simple, easy action, right? Like this is really designed for people who are brand new to the dark sky movement, but it's really just a way of saying like, hey, I want to learn more. And that's really what International Dark Sky Week is about. It's about spreading the message, building the movement, and we're hoping that this is kind of just a fun, engaging tool to do that.
Yeah. Perfect. Thanks, Drew. I think going to proclamations, if that's right. Yeah, perfect. So again, I'm not sure how much I need to introduce proclamations with this group, but I will again. At least here in the place I live, it is tough to get things through to city, county, state officials. And a proclamation is a great way for them to show earnest towards conservation, towards protecting the night sky, while really, not having to do too much from their standpoint. Introducing a proclamation is a great way to also start a relationship with local officials. I was just talking to someone this morning on the advocates Slack about they had a meeting with the mayor. Again, a great way to do that, to try to get their signature and really educate to the public and others about the harmful effects of light pollution, and really thinking about dark skies. So this is a ceremonial document that a community or organization can sign as an official statement of support. It's not legally binding, but it is, again, that earnest support and intention behind the community or official. It's a great first step. And, here in the region or up towards Lake Superior, where I live, it's just good to get more eyeballs on it. And we have some instructions on the website. Again, that's idsw.darksky.org. If you want to go there, follow the instructions, you can download a form. And if you do download that, it's a really easy template to use to really find and replace, your contact information or the information of who you're targeting for that, to get it signed and added before International Dark Sky Week. And if you do have one in progress or you do get one signed, I saw Eileen, that's fantastic. You got one down in Virginia. Do let us know. We are tracking that. We do have a goal and we'd love to hear and really congratulate the officials that did that. So that is where we're at with proclamations. Please do let us know if you need further support or connections or resources more about that one. Is anyone else working on a proclamation at this time or have a few out there? Mike, of course, love it.
Well, I just want to kind of reiterate something I mentioned earlier about the local county government, wanting to do a proclamation. They came to us and said, let's do a proclamation. They're also right now working on an update to the outdoor lighting code for the whole county. In that current version of the code, there are some very nice statements which we're hoping will survive the lawyer reviews. Such things as lights cannot be visible beyond the property line, which, would really be awesome to see. So what I'm kind of hoping is that once they do the proclamation from the County Board of Supervisors, those are our legal government, that we now have endorsement from within the county government that says controlling light pollution is important. And then they can then use that as the argument for why all of this new stuff we want to put in the outdoor lighting code will stay in. We'll see how that goes. So just keep in mind, if you get your county government or your local government to put out this proclamation about how important controlling light pollution is, then you can come back to them later on and say, well, hey, why aren't you updating the outdoor lighting codes per this proclamation that you've all agreed with?
That's cool. That's great.
Yeah, hi. I've been working on some proclamations. My name's Carter. I have currently for review 6 different governments that are reviewing it and potentially more. So yeah. Thanks.
Cool. Good job.
Hey,
That's
Hey, Chris, in Maine, we've got a dark sky park and a dark sky sanctuary, and we've submitted something to the governor's office, and we're hoping we will get a gubernatorial proclamation regarding the entire state. So that's in process.
very cool. And loving seeing all the other messages coming in the chat where you folks are submitting it. That's just perfect. That makes my heart very happy. Yeah, and there are some examples in the Slack as well. Oh yeah, go ahead, Eileen.
I've had some declined, and I have gone back and asked the jurisdiction like why they declined to issue one. A couple reasons where it doesn't have anything to do with us. So I'm then going to work with that to figure out how do you get them to realize it has everything to do with all of us. And then another one came back and said that it wasn't linked to a particular activity or an event in that particular jurisdiction. So I think it's the information's useful to find out why they didn't want to issue one. So
Yeah. Yep. That's nice. You at least got a response. I remember last year nothing happened. And that's too bad. Oh, Connie. Loving it. Yeah, keep submitting your questions. I know Abby's typing vigorously in the chat to help you all out. Thanks, Abby. And doing some background research. My Slack's just blowing up. I love it. So good to hear. Yeah, Drew, I think over to you.
Sounds good. So I want to talk briefly about hosting an event and how that's changed a little bit this year with the new website. So I would say that one of the most important things you can do for International Dark Sky Week is really just to get outside. Remember, this really is about engaging new people in our mission. And you can't protect something that you don't know about or you're not passionate about. So International Dark Sky Week is a great time to get outside, to host an event. And hosting an event can be a big star party like some of you all are planning, but it also could be as simple as just getting out on your back porch with friends or family and turning off the back porch light and sitting outside, taking a moment for your eyes to adjust, seeing what critters come out, and just enjoy your local nightscape. So that's one thing we're really trying to encourage people to do. Now, one thing we really want people to do is to be active on social media. So whatever you do at night, whether it's you're at a star party or you're just hanging out with your family, post it on social media and try to do that in real time. This year, we're going to be using the hashtags Dark Sky Week and Discover the Night. We went back and we looked at previous years, and in previous years, we were trying to use International Dark Sky Week as the hashtag, but it seems like most people were wanting to shorten it. So this year we're playing around with hashtag Dark Sky Week. So please just note that as you are, as you're sharing things on social media. Now, in previous years, people could take their events, their big planned events, and they could put them on the IDSW website. We were looking at statistics of the website, and what we saw were that while people were inputting their events, it wasn't actually being used as a hub for people to go and find events to go to. That page was getting very few hits. So this year we decided not to use the site as a hub for collecting events, but rather we really want to share events via social media. We think that that might be a more effective tool for advertising events. And we really just want to like flood the social media full with content throughout this week. So again, one of the best things all advocates can do is simply get outside at night. Again, this could be a large star party, but it can be just a small gathering, but post about it. Share your experience with the larger community. Chris, would you like to touch on Globe at Night? Because on our website, we have under Get Out at Night, we have a list of activities for people to do at night, some ideas, and one of them is Globe at Night. We really want people to participate in this.
Yeah, I don't know. With Connie on the call, it might be better just to hand it over to you. What do you think, Connie?
Oh, I think we should share the love. So please feel free.
Yeah. So Globe at Night, again, my kids and I love it. And I have an 11 and 13-year-old. So engaging the 13-year-old is a challenge, but we make it happen with Globe at Night. It's a perfect campaign for any wannabe scientist or actual scientist out in the world. And you can call yourself a scientist after you do it. Really, you're looking up and registering what you can see in the night sky wherever you're at. And so taking an important measurement of what's visible, through light pollution. So if you feel like you live, in a downtown area with lots of sky glow, that's okay. If you live way out in, the country and you can see the Milky Way every night, that's perfect too. It's important to get more people involved so we get that measurement. And correct me if I'm wrong, Connie, but there's the quantification of the data, but also the understanding of what people feel like they're seeing. So taking that best guess as to how many stars, I think it was Leo is this upcoming campaign. So you look for that constellation and it'll give you some examples of, I see this many, I see that many of the constellation. And it's great to kind of challenge yourself too. If you're kind of nerdy like me and you're trying to memorize the night sky. Otherwise, you can get the Skywalk app or otherwise to figure out where you should be looking. So I want to make sure, Connie, did I do it justice?
You did a beautiful job, but just to reiterate, we're not asking you to count stars. We're asking you to take the constellation of the month, which you're right, it's Leo for the Northern Hemisphere. It's still Orion for the Southern. But you look at Leo after like an hour after sunset or so until probably the middle of the night, somewhere when there's no moon out, to be a natural light bulb in the night sky. And you are actually matching what you see with 7 or 8 different choices on the app that Globe at Night provides for the report page. And the closest one, the faintest star you see and can see on the chart, is the one you're going to pick. And it's very easy. It takes about a half a minute, but you do have to make sure your eyes are dark adapted to make the right kind of measurement. And that's about it. And thank you so much, because we have used that data for very, very important results. And one of which was a paper a year ago showing that the sky is 10%, growing at a rate of 10% per year on average worldwide, getting brighter, that is, instead of the 2% that was previously understood. So.
Yeah. I just want to add one thing to this as well. Sometimes I think they think, oh, in order to participate, I need to go somewhere else with good stars. But the point of this really is to be where you're at. We want readings all over the place. And so forgive me if I get this name wrong, but is it Suzanne in France? You chimed in at the beginning and you talked about how you're hosting a night out, even though there's not good stars. Right. And I love that. Like, we need to be holding night events that celebrate the night everywhere. And we need to engage people where they're at. It's not just about the stars. It's about protecting nocturnal environments. It's about learning about light pollution. So I was really happy to hear that. We need to hold these events and take readings everywhere.
Wonderful. Yeah, Drew, did you want to say more about Get Out at Night?
I'm happy to take a few questions if anyone has questions about kind of our new social media approach or whatnot.
So I just thought of something for people who are traveling for the eclipse, like I am, leaving from Arizona, going to Indiana. And we're going to be staying in various large cities, unfortunately, while we're driving back to Indiana. And geez, I ought to take my SQM and take readings in those downtown areas. Connie, do you want to see those?
Absolutely. Anywhere and everywhere. If you have just a minute to do that, we'd be most appreciative because it gets more places around the globe, as Chris was saying, and Drew.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Well, if we don't have any questions about events, I think we're going to move on to kind of our final topic. I'd like to talk a little bit more about advertising and spreading the word about International Dark Sky Week and promoting it on social media and in the press. So again, this year we really want to promote International Dark Sky Week via social media. So again, be sure you're sharing in real time any experiences you're having. Also, make sure that you repost content. Here at headquarters, we're going to be working to create a deck of social media content slides that you can share on Instagram, on Facebook, Twitter, whatever platform you prefer using. So be on the lookout for those to come, and we'll send out emails as we post more to the Advocate Action group. There is an outreach package that we put together, and there's also a link to a folder that will contain those social media slides. So also use that as a resource. Now, if you're posting on Instagram specifically, be sure that you are tagging Dark Sky International, and that's DarkSky_INTL. And also be sure if you're using any other social media platform that you're using the 2 hashtags, Dark Sky Week and Discover the Night. I'm going to keep pushing those 2 hashtags. Those 2 hashtags will actually link to a carousel that's on the International Dark Sky Week website. So if you use those hashtags, anyone who goes to the website will be able to see those. Abby and I are also going to be tracking all of the hashtags, and we're going to be reposting anything that you post throughout the week. The idea is to really just flood the airwaves with information about International Dark Sky Week. So some of you, it sounds like, are also going to be talking to the press directly. I think this is especially important for people who are getting proclamations signed. When you get a proclamation signed, it's going to generate some media attention. Now, that media attention, it might be an interview. It could just be an email from a reporter who's writing an article. Regardless of how you're going to be communicating with the press, I just want to talk about a few key tips to generate key messages. So when you're talking to the press, first off, it's important to be comfortable. I know that whenever I started doing interviews, I was always incredibly nervous, and that's okay. We're all human. It's okay to be nervous. First off, just know that if you've gotten to the point where you're talking to the media, just pat yourself on the back. That's incredible. You know, we are here to spread the word during International Dark Sky Week. That is what's most important, and you're already going above and beyond. So just know that you're awesome, and just be comfortable. Make sure that you're in a comfortable environment. You're wearing something that's comfortable. Just know that you're already doing a good job, and take a deep breath. When you are communicating with the media, and again, that can be talking in an interview, or it can be typing to an answer to a reporter, just remember to stay positive. I want to really hit hard on this one. You know, International Dark Sky Week is really about growing the movement, and it's about bringing new people in. So make sure that you're engaging with the press in an energetic way, in a passionate way, and make sure that you stay positive. And of course, when we're talking about light pollution, there are devastating impacts, and it's okay to bring those up. In fact, it's good to bring those things up, but just make sure that you are offering solutions and you are presenting the topic in a way that is linked to direct action. And make sure that you talk about International Dark Sky Week first and foremost as being a time to celebrate the night. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about developing key messages. So first off, what is a key message? When you think about creating a key message, think about it this way. If someone asks you a question and you have 15 seconds to respond, how are you going to do it? That's a key message. You want it to be as succinct as possible, as clear as possible, and you want it to be engaging. So for example, if someone asks you, what is International Dark Sky Week? You want to be prepared. Rather than rambling on and on, you want to start out with just a 15-second key message. Of course, after that key message, you can go on longer. but you want to give the reporter something really good right at the beginning. So what I would say is International Dark Sky Week is a worldwide celebration of the night. It aims to build awareness about the negative impacts of light pollution and the importance of the night. This year, International Dark Sky Week will be held April 2nd to 8th. So before you go through an interview, jot down what your key messages are and make sure you are identifying key things. You want International Dark Sky Week in there. I wanted the word light pollution in there. I also wanted to make sure that the dates were in there. So again, make sure that you can start the conversation with a 15-second soundbite that is really clear. Also, when developing key messages, make sure that the message is easy to understand. I feel like a lot of us get really hung up on this one. As advocates of the night, we're accustomed to using language that is very specific to our worlds. So make sure that you're using language that is easy to understand. So if someone asks you what is light pollution, to me, this one I struggle with because I feel like our definition of light pollution on the Dark Sky website, while it's really good, it still is not really easy to understand. But when I'm communicating, I want to make sure that I stick to what Dark Sky has. That is our go-to phrase. But then I want to have a sentence afterwards that clarifies it a little bit more. So for me, when someone says, what is light pollution? I would say something along the lines of, light pollution is the human-made alteration of outdoor light levels from those occurring naturally. Outdoor lighting that is overly bright or left on when it isn't needed can negatively affect many parts of our world. So again, try to make the language as easy to understand as possible. And if there is kind of dense language at the beginning, follow it up with something a little bit softer that clarifies it. Right. Another important thing when developing a key message, anticipate the next question that will come from your previous key messages. So what I like to do before an interview is I start jotting some key messages down, and then I look at them and I say, okay, what's gonna build from this? If you talk about light pollution, the next thing someone might ask you, well, how do you solve it? And you have 15 seconds to tell them how. It's really difficult, but there are ways to do it. I would say something along the lines of, one of the easiest solutions is simply turning off your light. But because that's not always possible, there are other things you can do to make your outdoor lighting dark sky friendly, such as using warm amber toned LED lights that are 300 Kelvin or below, that are fully shielded, and on a motion sensor or timer. So kind of hitting at some of those 5 principles in a really quick way. And then I'd probably follow that up by directing people to the 5 principles on the Dark Sky website. And last, make sure that your messages are meaningful for your audience. Now, when you're having a media interview, it might be for your local community. So how is light pollution affecting your immediate community? Sometimes it's not going to be a community that's directly around you. Maybe you are working with a local Autobahn chapter for International Dark Sky Week. So you're working with the birding community. You want to make sure that your messaging centers on their interests. So really think about where you are, who you're talking to, and make sure that your key messages directly relate to that audience. And that'll make sure that everything is effective, engaging, and topical. If you go to darksky.org, there are a variety of pages that talk about how light pollution affects a variety of topics. So that will be a great resource for you to go to in order to develop your key messages. So again, just really think critically about your key messages. This applies again to whether you're conducting an interview in person or jotting things down online, or even when you're writing a social media post. These key messages really all apply. So I'll go ahead and open it up to questions about interacting with the press. In fact, does anyone have any media interviews scheduled? I think I heard a few people mention that at the beginning.
Looks like Mike might.
Well, yeah, I'll chime in again. So I mentioned earlier that Oracle State Park is having our 9th anniversary celebration, becoming an international dark sky park this Saturday. Well, the county is actually sending one of their videographers up here to interview people, and probably myself and the park staff, local residents, about protecting the night sky and why that's important, why we want to appreciate and protect our local night sky. And they're going to use that information at the Board of Supervisors. They're going to show that video at the Board of Supervisors meeting later this month when they approve the proclamation. They're going to use that as part of their marketing materials. So again, it's great to see our county reacting this way.
That's great.
Drew,
Mhm.
I'm Berta here from Charleston. I do have one set up. Don't have the exact time for next week with Live 5 News down here in Charleston. I'm also working with the other local news stations to try to let them know about Dark Skies and promote Dark Sky Week. I'm setting up with the Low Country Stargazers, so I'm going to have their club president to be interviewed with me about what they do as far as trying to engage the public with night viewing and so forth about the night skies. And I'll be setting up at what used to be their dark sky area, and now it's getting taken over by Sky Glow. So I'm hoping to be able to point that out when visitors come to on April 2nd, to point that out, just say, look at the Sky Glow, come from Charleston. This is something that we need to work on. And one of the gentlemen going to have working with us used to work with National Park Service, which, as we all know, they have been a big leader in this.
Right.
So
Great.
wish me luck on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like, again, you're keeping the message very topical and localized, and that
Yes.
is going to be the most impactful for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Well, great. Well, are there any more questions in the chat, Chris? Coming through that
I
we
have
want
a question.
Yeah, Irving.
I had a question. Well, a request. Well, I'm actually working with Estes Park and their observatory that they have up here to do a couple of events. We still haven't had any events really nailed down. So I was maybe kind of listening in on some of the other events happening. But my ideas was having a table, getting a couple pictures out, and we kind of getting a proclamation for Dark Sky Week for the 2nd to the 8th at Estes Park as well there. So hopefully we get an event happening there here pretty soon as well. As long as with the town of Bertha as well. We're trying to do a couple of different events with them as well. So hopefully next time I'll come in with a little more information with that, but that's also something being done here in Colorado.
Fantastic.
I wanted to just say I'm a member for 3 days, so I'm really green here. I wanted to mention, Mike, that when you were talking, I took the liberty of Googling your name and Oracle State Park, and you have an unbelievable presence on at least the first page. I'm seeing about 8 sites that talk about Oracle Dark Skies Committee, Oracle State Park Store Pretty, about dark skies. So I think that's a really important presence to have, so that each person who does something like this, if they can create websites that highlight what they're doing, I think would be very beneficial. I actually thought I could go to a website and get the kind of information that I wanted to use for my local community. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
So thanks, Susan. The park and the park agency, headquartered up in Phoenix, Arizona, they have been very supportive of, getting the dark sky designation 9 years ago, a little over 9 years ago. The effort that went into that, the local residents, the local business owners who are on that Oracle Dark Skies Committee, they were very supportive. I don't know whether we still hold the record or not, but they were so dedicated that when I first got the crazy idea to get the park designated in February of 2014, to submitting the application to International Dark Sky Association at the end of June 2014, we held the record from conception to submittal and then approval in September of 2014. So that's just kind of the dedication that I saw around this local area. And you'll see the same thing out in almost every other place around the world. There are people who have either grown up appreciating the night sky that they had, and they may have moved out of the areas, or they moved into those areas, and they're now seeing the stars and Milky Way in ways that they never saw before, and they've fallen in love. So you find those people, tap into them, and great things will happen.
I wanted to share an experience I had. I moved from like a peninsula, kind of far away from a town, surrounded by water. I walked outside. It was an amazing dark sky. And then I moved to a wildlife sanctuary, open space, surrounded by water. And I'm like, I said to my neighbors, don't you ever see a dark sky? It's light every night. Is that possible? That's just from light pollution? I can't figure out where the lights are coming from, just from the homes. Does anybody have an answer for that? No?
Where do you live again?
I'm in Bayville, which is a little island on Long Island, on Long Island Sound.
So you're near New York City, you know, and you know, when it's cloudy, you're going to see all the clouds. You're going to see all this very bright sky.
Right.
But when it's clear, there's still a lot of particulate matter in the atmosphere, whether it's pollen, whether it's, you know, automobile exhaust gases, just moisture. So that's also all going to reflect the light from light polluted areas that can be a long distance away from you. So you're seeing basically light pollution from, you know, New York City.
But that I literally moved 10 minutes away, and I had a dark sky 10 minutes away. So that doesn't, I'm just trying to figure it out. If it's really just from light, or because 10 miles away, I didn't have that.
10 miles can make a big difference, especially if it's sky glow.
Yes.
Okay.
Sky
Center-
glow can go out there.
Yeah, it's been measured. It could travel upwards of 250 miles at least.
All you got to do is look at the Grand Canyon. They're dealing with it from Vegas.
Oh, really?
And in the center of Tucson, you might get a global night, a chart reading of magnitude 3 or 4. And if you go to the edge of town 10 miles away, you're seeing the Milky Way overhead. So it makes a big difference. Yeah.
So I can conceivably do a night reading in each location. And okay, thank you.
Have you seen the light pollution map? If you Google light pollution map, you will see your town.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't know about that.
You can also get an app. Just type in light pollution map on your phone, Apple or Android. You can bring one up.
The only concern with that, it's taken by a satellite that has no, it doesn't see in the blue. So it doesn't catch most of the LED emissions in the blue. So you really need things like globe at night. The human eye can take that all in, and the aggregate of all the human eyes together gives you the what could be, you know, the correct measurements for your area or around the world. So just to let you know.
Thank you.
Somebody mentioned Sky Quality Meter in the chat. Looks like it was Alejandro. That's a great resource I've found with connecting with parks and like naturalists, just to have a nice little handheld way to measure you know, what the reflection of light is in the sky. And those are, you know, sometimes funded by grants, or at the end of the year, I got the call from a Cave State Park down southwest Minnesota. They're like, hey, how do I spend this money? I was like, here you go, buy 8 of these. This is exactly what you want. Send people out on night trips to take measurements. This is why they became naturalists.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot
So
of
this
different
is the
tools.
unihedron
Oh yeah, there you go. Mhm.
SQL. It's about $125, I think, somewhere around that neighborhood. And you can get it from online. You can get it, from your local telescope dealers. You just point it up in the night sky, hold it over your head, point it straight up. Works great.
One
Yeah.
thing is make sure you got a clear night on that. No moon.
Yep. And Connie mentions you can actually submit those readings into Globe at Night as well, right, Connie?
Right.
Yes, it's an optional thing you can do, but also if you want to buy an SQM from Unihedron, he still might be doing this. If you tell him you're participating in Globe at Night, he gives you $50 off. So it's $85 instead of $135. So that's a big difference, especially for a lot of places that are educational or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how I got mine. I saved the $50. So just email the president of the company and you get it.
Yeah. Marcia, did you have your hand up? Otherwise, Robert, go ahead.
Yeah, I was interested in Connie's reaction. There's a dark sky meter you can get for your phone. It's $1.99, and you take a dark image and then you take an actual exposure. It gives you an SQM reading, and it submits to Globe at Night, I believe, automatically.
Well, yeah, the link has been broken, but yes, you can do that if you want. But we've done a study. I had my students do a study comparing the different kinds of measurements, and that one is not as reliable because you're using your phone. Basically, you're not using the same broadband filter that the SQM uses. So but please, I don't want to deter you from any way that you'd like to. I'm not really sure where it's going right now because it's not connected to Globe at Night like it used to be.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Good to know.
So Alejandro mentioned the Opal meter. Oops, here we go. So this is it. It's just a small little device that measures color temperature, and it seems to work pretty well.
There you go. Nice. Yeah, go ahead, Neela.
Hi. Some of us had this question regarding the 3000 Kelvin versus 2200. So I was confused because my city recently switched to LEDs, and the 3000 is extremely glary and bright, and white as well, not just bright, but white. So I had heard that the new dark sky recommendation was lower. So I was wondering where we stood on that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We have some folks on the call. I don't know if Drew, Royu, Susan, you're out there.
Yeah, just to keep it really simple and not to get into details too much, but there was a committee that worked to pick a number that we could, excuse me, I've got a really bad cold, sorry, that we could use to start to bring that number down, that lighting companies would still accept. I mean, we hope that everybody goes to the lower number. But we can't obviously force people to do that. And we wanted to get some agreement. So the number of 3000 was standardized, and that's what we came up with. But the goal is always to, to continue to work to improve. So.
Yeah, and I think some cities are using that to their advantage. Because I'm very photophobic. I have a lot of medical conditions, and even neurotypical people in my circle, they are having a lot of difficulty with the 3000. And when I approach the city, they're like, oh, but we're already dark skies friendly because we're doing 3000 and not 4000, but 3000 is way high. So I told them I'm a dark sky advocate, and now I'm wondering how I have the backing to tell them, well, no, we actually want it lower. So
I would
how do
say,
we?
I would say if it's always helpful if you'd like to email us too. You could even email me. I'm on the website. I think my email is up there too, or just contact and we can start gathering a little bit of data because we've heard from a couple of people. But it's always a balance of trying to weigh various issues and standards with other things. So if you were talking to somebody, I think what I would say is that the number that's posted is it's the recommended, it's the higher number, but of course, always looking to improve it. But if you'd like to send an email, I'm sure we can get a little bit more language around it. Drew and Chris are working all the time on developing language and engagement points and things. And we could always talk to our executive director about potentially just tweaking it, not the standards, but the language, so that we give you some talking points on how to respond to people that have that question.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Sure.
May I say something on that? Here in Charleston, they're installing 4,000. I've been trying to encouraging to go 3,000 below. But on our beaches for turtles, they have done 3,000 and below, actually 3,000. And they're not bright at all. So I'm questioning if yours is real bright as you're saying. Are they really 3,000 or maybe they're 4,000 or above?
They're actually 3,000. Even the 2,700 is a bit bright, but I'm okay to kind of settle there. The 3,000 is way too bright. They claim it's 3,000. I think it also has to do with the lumens. That they're definitely, and they're not putting any hoods or shields on it. So I'm trying to figure out which battle to fight first.
And just to jump in one more time, and because this is an important issue, but I'm sure others have things to say too, and then I know we're wrapping up. Feel free to send an email. But there are so many areas that affect light. I think we'll all agree. We had an off-site meeting, a team meeting with many of us in Tucson. I think it was just last week, and we had a lighting demonstration. And I'm fairly new to this industry, and it blew me away. The shading, the warmth, the lumens, everything. There's so many things that go into it. So it's not like it's one data point. There are many data points. So it's a great conversation to have. But yeah, the 3,000, you bring up a good point that it can differ based on many things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I would like to share my experience, if you don't mind. So I am in France, where 3,000 is the maximum allowed in town. And you can see my light here. It's on, and it's way too bright. It's 3,000. It's way too bright. I feel sick, and I am not known as being neurotypical. I usually close my blinds as soon as the town lights the lights. You can see all the lights. Can you see the how to say, the lines all around the LED lights? If it wasn't LED, you wouldn't see those lines. I don't know how to call them, rayons. And it's really, you can hear the bells. It's really disturbing. And they are changing old-fashioned light bulbs for those LED lights. And here I have 4x7 little nodules. I don't know how to call them. And so the legislation says it's 35 lux maximum, and it is 35 lux, and it's way too much. So it's night, and people speak loud in the street because they think it's midday. And so they wake me up at night just chatting in the street, and they have no respect for people who sleep, because why should they? They don't think people are animals, and they just don't know it's nighttime. How can they know? It's as bright. You can read a book. You can do anything you want to do except sleeping. And we need nights. We need sleep. We are animals, and we have a cycle, and we need it. And we become crazy if we don't have enough sleep. And even with my blinds closed, the light comes in at night.
Yeah, Marie, we definitely feel for you with that. issue
Yes.
in my neighbors. We have to close some of our blinds at night as well. Alejandro, I wanted to recognize your hand up. Do you have more to say on this topic?
Yeah, I just sent the link from the Apple device because, for example, I work with the ornithology group here in Argentina and countries around. You have to understand that the color temperature is for the human, not for the animals, because they or the most of animals distinguish the full spectrum of color. So that
Verbo is for sharing all kinds of moments.
depends on the lumens or the looks that the light power source have. So you can have a 3000 Kelvin temperature color, but with few lumens, it won't matter because it won't interfere. The Hubble device is actually pretty useful because not only measure the light temperature, it measures the flicker, the frequency radiances that actually produce headaches and all that kind of stuff. So it's another example that I am seeing right here, right now, is the most of you actually have blue lights at your homes. So that's the first example that you can be part of spread the word in the chains, is that you have to be the example. For as you can see, I have a light interior in my house. It's actually an almost an orange pretty one, and it's pretty low. So I put this in this conversation because this is the best way to figure out how we can approach different conversation with people that actually didn't know about the matter. So when you are going to talk about to read a book or showing something or try to explain something, you can have this is in your pocket and you can be okay. The lights can be suggested below 3000, but please check the lumens. So you can actually have some advice. Because I was talking to Paulina Villalobos, that is in the board for and lighting and all that stuff. I try to how to achieve one document that I more accurate to this year, for example, with new papers and new publishing about the right color of temperature. And that's when I cross with that info. The temperature in the light is basically for the humans because the nature is, they see in full spectrum. I work with bugs and they see also in infrared. So it doesn't matter the color for the fauna. It's more for humans.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And a lot of people are making a lot of great points. I'd love to see this continue on in our Slack channel because I do want to be respectful of people's time. If you do need that invite, once again, let me know. I can share a link, but I want to do Lucas, then Simon, then we'll probably need to wrap up. Drew's given the look. So,
or you can
Okay,
see
thank
it in
you.
a few hours.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. I just wanted to add something. The industry tends to use still white light because they always claim it's an improvement compared to the sodium lamps that we had earlier, because the color rendition is better. Of course, this is true, but nowadays you can get 2200 Kelvin with a color rendition of 70%, which is way enough to see whether there is a rainbow somewhere or not. So basically, it doesn't matter on the streets. That's one point. And the second point is for Marie, who has this extremely glaring light outside of her window. I do not believe that this is following the rules of any light norms. So you could basically prove that this is not due to the standards, and then it should be changed. I'm 100% sure that this is not correctly done for your living situation, because you are too close to this light and then it has to be adapted. That's all I wanted to say for now.
I have measured the temperature and I have measured the with a free app. I have measured the luminosity. It's just the limits, not under, but just the limits.
Okay, that's astonishing.
Yeah, and
that they
in
reach.
a dark day, it's less lux in my house than at day than at night.
Mhm.
In a dark day, because I have bright nights and dark days.
Strange, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Simon, go ahead.
Hi there. Sorry, I think everyone's sort of covered this, but as I'm from the UK, and I'm a lighting designer. So just one thing about color temperature is it's not about brightness, and I don't know if that was made clear. So 3000, or 2700 or 4000, that is just about the spectral distribution of the light. It's just not about how bright it is. But having said that, if you have the same lumen output of a 2700 and a 4000, the 4000 will look a little bit brighter, but it's not a measure of the brightness. So I think that was confusing people. It's just about how warm the light is. So you can have a 3000K that's really, really low output and dim, so it doesn't have to be bright to be a certain color temperature. That's all I just wanted to say.
I wanted to add that, thanks for bringing that up. We're currently working on our talking points because we realize that in our advocate action groups, we do tend to get hung up on the temperature when there are, these other elements in order to create a good, healthy light. And so please know that, we are continually working to update these talking points, and there's always room for conversation to change these. Looking at what IDA was talking about, 5-10 years ago is different than what it looks now. So it's great. And that's why we have these advocate action group meetings. You guys are the movers and shakers in this lighting world, and it's good to get this input. Like I said, we'll continue to develop talking points.
And we'll continue the discourse today at 5 Mountain. If you want to join us again, if you happen to be awake, I know Alejandro, I hope to see you there. Otherwise, I know I've had a great time on the call today, learned a lot, made a lot of notes about what we can do to further our messaging, Drew and Susan. So I'm looking forward to keeping the conversation going on our Slack network again.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody. There'll be more emails coming out about International Dark Sky Week and how to promote. Please feel free to reach out to either Chris or myself through our Dark Sky website if you have any follow-up questions.